Hi everybody, and welcome to Fun with Numbers. This morning we shall be doing a new topic, alright? But we shall be using the skills that we would have learned in the past to build on what we would have done. So I would start today's session by looking at having to share an orange with my brother. So I divided it like this. I said, okay, I will take this piece, but you take this piece. How much orange did he get? How much orange did I get? Well, if you are thinking about he got a half, then that was a good guess, but you were not correct. You see, we cannot name a fraction. He got a fraction of the orange. He got a piece of the orange, but we cannot name a fraction unless we have divided the whole into equal parts. So had I divided the orange equally, then I would have divided the orange into two equal pieces. So look at that. Look at this line. Divided into two equal pieces, and I would have given him one out of the two. So I can call this line here, the vinculum, I can call it divided by or out of. Alright? 1 out of 2. Alright? So the first thing we want to establish is if we would like to name a fraction, we have to be divided into equal pieces. Alright? So for example, I have a whole divided into 3 equal pieces. I divided it into 3 equal pieces, and I'm talking about 1 out of the 3, so we call it 1/3. If I have a whole, I divide my whole into 4 equal pieces. I would call one piece 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4 equal pieces, I call it 1/4. So here we see we had 1/2. We can write it as 1/2, or we have 1/3. Alright? And we have 1/4, we write it as 1/4. But then we can divide our wholes into fifths, 5 equal pieces. Into 6 equal pieces, we will call it sixths, right? SIXTHS, or sevenths, SEVENTHS, eighths, EIGHTHS. So look at that there. Look at the ending 6. If we have tenths, put the THS, tenths. Yes, a whole divided into 10 equal pieces. We refer to it as tenths. You can have 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10. Alright? Now, let us look at our wholes. Alright? Now that we understand that how we would name a fraction, alright, let us look at a whole this way. We have a whole. We can divide the whole into 2 equal pieces. How we call this piece? 1 out of 2 equal pieces, and this is 1 out of 2 equal pieces. So we have 1/2 and another half. So we have 2 halves. But you write 2 halves, but you'll realize that 2 halves is really 1 whole. And then we can have another whole, which we would divide into 3 equal pieces. Right, we'll call one piece 1 out of 3, because it's 3 equal pieces, and another third here, and another third here. Then we can have another whole, so we're going to divide this whole into 4 equal pieces. Here. Right? So So here we had 3/3. Let me just write that. 3/3, which is the same as a whole. A quarter, another quarter, another quarter. Yeah, how many quarters we have? 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters. Just like you're checking goats. 1 goat, 2 goats, 3 goats. Yeah. 4 quarters, which is 1 whole. So you would have discovered by now that when your numerator, or your top number, and your bottom number, called the denominator, when your numerator and your denominators are the same, it's 1 whole. 3 out of 3, 1 whole. 4 out of 4, 1 whole. And when mommy cook roti, cut it up into 8 pieces, and you eat 8 out of 8. You eat the whole, 1 whole. Okay? But I want us to look at these fractions, and all of these fractions, 1/2, 1/3, 1 quarter. And let me just try another one. I'm going to cut this one into 8 pieces, alright? So that we will see what is happening. First I get them into quarters, and then I cut my quarters into 2. I cut each quarter into 2. That's what I get. I get 1 out of 8. And I want you to observe which of these fractions is bigger. Is it the 1/2 or 1/3? Which is bigger? Which is a bigger piece? Is it 1/3 or 1/8? Which is bigger between 1/3 and 1/8? So I have 1/3, and I am comparing 1/3 with 1/8. Now you would see that this is 1/3 and this is 1/8. So I know if this was a cake, you will want the 1/3, you wouldn't want the 1/8, you will want the 1/3. Because you know the 1/3 is bigger. Excuse me. So boys and girls, what we are looking at, we can say 1/3 is more than 1/8, but we can say 1/8 is less than, and look at that sign, that looks like a L, L for less than 1/3. So this morning, a part of our lesson is looking at, we are comparing unit fractions. And what is a unit fraction? A unit fraction is a fraction where you have 1 as the numerator. 1 as the numerator, yeah? So we call these unit fractions. And when comparing unit fraction, you will see that when you have a small denominator, this is really a big fraction. So we can say the least or the lesser, the smaller the size of the smaller the denominator, the greater the value of the fraction, right? Or we can say the greater the value of the fraction, the greater the value of the denominator, the lesser or the smaller the size of the fraction. And I want you to think about that. Think about your mother made a nice chocolate cake, and she decided that she would cut it into 8 slices. And then she had another cake there of the same size, but she decided to cut that one into 100 slices. Which slice you want? You want the 1 out of the 8, or you want the 1 out of the 100? Because to cut a cake into 100 slices, one of those slices will be thin like a razor blade. Very, very small piece. You don't want 1 out of 100, you want 1 out of 8, because 1 out of 8 is more than 1 out of 100. Alright? So you need to remember that when you are comparing your unit fractions, the smaller the denominator, the larger the size of the fraction. And because of that, we can move one step further. We can say, you know what? I can arrange my unit fractions, and I can arrange my unit fractions. We started from the smallest and we are going up. So anytime you start with the smallest fraction and you are going up, you call that ascending order. An ascending order means you're starting with the lowest fraction and you're going up to the biggest size fraction. So if I had to order 1/3, 1/9 and a half, which is the smallest fraction there. Don't be fooled by looking at the denominators, because we already said that the smaller the denominator, the larger the fraction. So which is the smallest fraction here? The smallest fraction here is 1/9. 1/9. And the next fraction, we're getting bigger. Yeah, we're like a plane, we are ascending. We start off low on the ground and we're going higher and higher and higher. Yes, so we are going in ascending order. We look at 1/3 and then we get 1/2. So we say ascending order. But we can also arrange our fractions in descending order. And descending order simply means you start up high in the air and the plane coming down. So we can say D for descending, DSCENDING, descending, and D is also for down. So you start up and you are going down, you are getting smaller and smaller, lower and lower. The plane is descending. So good? So if we had to arrange a quarter, 1/7, 1/15, and a third, which of these fractions here do you think, if we are starting with the biggest fraction size and we're going down to the lowest, which of these will be the first one to put? Because remember, you're starting from on top of the greatest value first. Yes, you would have to choose 1/3. So you choose a third, and then a quarter, then 1/7, and then 1/15. So and here we see what we would have learned this morning is how to arrange unit fractions in ascending and descending order. So before I go, I would like to recap with you what we would have done this morning. We would have learned how to name our fractions. We said, in order to name a fraction, we must divide the whole into equal parts. Alright? For example, 2 equal parts, we call them halves. So we have 1 out of 2, 1/2. Alright? We would have said that the top number is called the numerator. This line here means divided by or out of, and is also known as the vinculum. Alright? And we have the denominator. And the denominator tells us how many equal pieces the whole has been divided into. Alright? We would have said that we have halves, thirds, quarters, but as we go on from there, we keep adding, making sure we have the HS at the end. Alright, we have this TH sound at the end. So we have 6, 7s, 8s, 10s, 11s, 12s, 15s, hundredths. Right? Hundredths, yes, hundredths meaning that you have a whole and you divide it into 100 pieces. So 5 out of the 100 will be 5 hundredths. Alright? And then we would have looked at comparing our unit fractions. Comparing them, and we would have said the smaller the value of the denominator, the greater the size of the fraction. We would have looked at this sign, which means more than, and this sign, which means less than. So that's why we would have said 1/8 is less than 1/3. Alright, and then we would have gone on to look at ascending order, where we would have learned how to arrange our fractions from the smallest in value, which will be 1/9, then 1/3, and then 1/2 as we get higher. Or we can start with the highest value fraction and go down to the lowest, and we would call these descending order. We would have also reminded ourselves that when the numerators and the denominators are the same, it is the same as saying 1/2. So until then, I shall send you a worksheet, and God bless you all.